Hello everyone, I'm Flora. We are from Sempi Education. Welcome to the first episode of our Wise and Shine video series. We put this video series up to share ideas about teaching and learning. As you all know, the technology disruption has changed the learning landscape in this decade. And with the COVID-19 pandemic, it has definitely changed the way we learn and the way we teach. So with this video series, we hope to share our teaching experience, observation and intervention method to audience who care for education. Also, we will bring different industrial and educational experts to share their insights as well. So we truly hope you will like it, and we also hope that this will be a platform to elicit healthy discussion about education. So today, we are indeed excited and honored to have our first ever guest all the way from UK, Miss Abigail Kelly. Miss Abigail is an opera singer and actor from UK, vocal coach and workshop leader in classical and popular singing, as well as musical theatre performances. She has taken part in a lot of major opera production in UK, at the same time given performances and recitals in music of different genres. And she is also an advocate for children's opera as well, having taken part in children's opera production by the company called the English Touring Opera. So without further ado, let us welcome Miss Abigail Kelly.
Welcome, Abigail. Nice to see you again into our Wise and Shine program. And in fact, just to let you know, this is our first episode, and I definitely feel honored to have you and privileged to have you here. Okay, so how's London? Oh, sorry, how's Birmingham?
Birmingham's okay. I've been doing all right, actually. All of my teaching has gone online. I've managed over the last year to do some really wonderful online projects with companies that I've never worked with before. So I've done an online children's recital for the Royal Albert Hall and a few online singing lessons for various opera companies. And now we're sort of dipping our toes back into very gently and safely operas that are being performed in the real world, or at least being recorded in the real world and then being put out on YouTube.
So I think amidst the difficulties of the social distancing measures, we are all trying to cope, I'm sure, like from Singapore to London to Birmingham. I think all musicians are trying to cope with the new norm. So I'm glad that you are now involved in so many projects that I think that is not being dreamed of or being imagined, in the past, where we were so much into live performance, seeing the audience live. So of course, how I missed, being able to perform live as well to an audience. In this case, is that, okay, maybe let's talk a little bit about your work as an opera singer and how, whether it is difficult or it is challenging, where you need to sing, and I'm sure you need to act as well, all right, in an opera, because I think this is to us is that is like two different skills. So how have you coped with the acting part? I know singing is your kind of core skills that you have, yeah. So how have you been coping with the acting part?
I think for me in particular, I think for many performers, the singing and the acting is so intertwined from such an early age. When I was very little, I used to go to a dance school and I used to do dance, tap, and song. So tap dancing and singing at the same time. And we definitely put, the body into it, as well as the emotion behind the movements and the emotion behind the song. At music colleges as well in the UK, we've got very specific drama teachers, drama departments. I went to a music college where there was a totally separate drama department as well. So drama and music in the UK are very, very much hand in hand. It's something that we study at the same time. So it doesn't become something that you layer on top of each other. I really enjoy opera for the drama, because of course the drama is written into the music. Of course the drama is there, but at the same time you have to, with the suspension of belief, when you're an audience member looking at something happening on stage, it's make believe really, but there is an element of understanding now that when we put on productions, there's a little bit of a smidgen of reality that's in there. And I think with that smidgen of reality comes a lot of making sure that you are not only singing the drama, but you are acting the drama.
Yes,
yeah, it's so important to have it together.
So I think talking about your childhood experience, of taking part in performances like this, what sort of impact it has left on you, and how has it kind of affected you to make a decision to come into this field professionally? Right, because just now you mentioned, like your experience in performance.
Yes, my experience in performance has been from a very early age. So I, from the age of 4, started at a dance school, just as something for my parents to, get me out of the house and do and experience. And from that point on, I did tap, ballet and modern from the age of 4 up until the age of 19. And at 19, actually a little bit earlier than 19, around 18, 17, decided that I've spent all my life playing the piano, playing the violin, going to see stage shows, being in, little shows myself. There was no way that I couldn't throw myself into a career in the arts in some way, shape or form. I just didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew that I had to perform. Opera, the love of opera came a little bit after that. I think I was even already at music college and I was trying to discover the many types of singing that was on offer at Birmingham Conservatoire. So there was Baroque singing. We studied French song, Lieder, German song. We studied Baroque music, musical theatre as well. We'd always do a piece of musical theatre every 2 years as a big main stage show. And it wasn't really until into the course when I discovered more about opera and the challenges of singing opera that I became more sort of like, I'd like to try that. I'd like to do that.
I see. So when did you actually receive formal training in voice? How old were you?
I finished college at around, I took a gap year. I remember that much because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do and I hesitated, and eventually made the decision to audition for music college and got in. And then it was 4 years of study at Birmingham Conservatoire. I think I was around about 2021, I'm not quite sure. And then 1 more year of study at what used to be the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama in Glasgow. And then from that point onwards, I just went out into the world of performing and really learned a lot more on the job, essentially, about how, not just how to sing, but when to sing, when not to sing, how to find your light, how you cope with being on tour, how you interact with your stage manager, your assistant directors, all of that extra stuff I really learned while I was working.
So it's basically an art where you have to embrace it holistically. And I am really glad that you mentioned this, because I think some of the parents in Asia tend to look at it as it is, like, going for a piano lesson, going for voice lesson. But I think the idea of putting everything together, with speaking skills, with acting skills, singing skills, how you project yourself physically, I think this is a new idea. We hope that, all parents, will have better ideas of what it is and what are the advantages that you can bring to the children, especially now. Both of us are in the education field and dealing with children. So what do you think that is the appropriate age for a child to start voice training formally? Is it from
I have
preschool age, or what is the appropriate age?
I have taught children who are really quite little. So I think my youngest ever pupil was 5 years old.
Okay.
And I think in those circumstances, it isn't so much about voice training, because you just want children to be children, be natural, enjoy singing. It's about learning repertoire more than anything else. Let's learn a song today. Let's think about how quickly you can copy what I'm doing. So it's those elements of singing that we are creating the foundation for at that early age. Things like rhythm, being able to clap rhythms back, musicianship. Obviously, as the child gets older, and you know the parents or the child might want to start looking at the grading system. So either Trinity or ABRSM or any of the other syllabuses out there, that's when we start thinking about, how do you form that vowel sound efficiently at that place in your voice? And I don't really talk about anything too overtly technical at a young age. It's just about growing into yourself and finding your own voice, listening to pitches, hearing the difference between pitches. Obviously, during the pandemic, teaching very young children is,
I'm sure, it's a challenge. Yes, that's right. Yeah,
it is challenging, but it is really interesting to see the change, even from last March to now. The change in some of my pupils who maybe at the start of the online lessons, because it was all new, had a toy in their hand or was in their room and kind of with their stuff and able to go off and run off and play and not be focused. But the difference now, a year on, where they know what's expected of them. They turn up, they press their camera on, and they're ready to work. And that, for me as an educator, has been a very interesting change to see, regardless of how their voices have developed, just how their focus has developed and how their learning and their learning practice has developed in this new world that we're in. It's been very interesting.
Yes, this is so interesting. We have seen that in this part of the world as well. And, like children learn how to use a Zoom, how to use, the Google Classroom. So all these, I think we wouldn't have imagined that, before the pandemic. So I think just getting through the pandemic itself, overcome the adversities, and I think there are positive changes in our children. And I'm sure they'll bring that, when they grow up, and bring that positive changes to the adulthood. So hopefully that there will be more creativity from their side as well. I think as an educator, we need to be creative too. For example, like coming out with online performances, and we just did an online masterclass as well. Yes, by a professor of piano, Miss Catherine Lam, last week. So we hope to do more, because it kind of make these things easier nowadays, rather than having you all fly all over from UK, stay here for a week or two. So that would take time. Now it's just turn on Zoom and there you are. All right, you can have the professional lessons from a professional like you. So I think this is something fantastic, and I definitely see that as a positive change. Well, I think talking about your various experience as an opera singer, this is quite new to the children, especially in this part of the world, because the children here grow up listening to Disney. And, we have musical productions too, which in terms of the songs and the ability of the production to be able to engage the children, I think it is easier to us when you present a musical or a Disney musical to the children here. But I'm curious to know whether there is any difference in terms of your singing when you perform in an opera production and a musical, whether like for children, it is more advisable, like you mentioned, basically just enjoy the songs first, or you think that there are suitable opera materials too for children to enjoy?
I definitely think that there is appropriate music across all of the genres for children to enjoy at an early age. I think it's about, this is interesting because we were talking about this not very long ago. I know that as a young singer, when I saw all of these big operatic roles, I thought, I have to learn that right now and I have to sing that right now. It's brilliant. And there was always a tutor to say, not yet, that's not for your voice type quite yet. So you leave it and you leave it and you leave it and you leave it sometimes to a point when you come to it and you're like, oh gosh, I wish I had worked on this a little bit more over the years. And then there are some pieces of operatic repertoire that you dip in and out of at different stages in your career. And you try it on. It's like a shoe. You try it on at one stage, doesn't quite fit yet, but you've figured out where all of the dots are. You've figured out, what the emotion is. You've understood the language of it. You go away, you come back again. You try it on like a new shoe, and it's kind of a bit more comfortable, and so on and so forth. I definitely think that there is space in the repertoire for young people, in the operatic repertoire, definitely for young people to start looking at things. Even at grade 5, 6, and 7 in Trinity and in ABRSM, you start seeing operatic repertoire in the syllabuses. So
I see.
You do have young people starting to sing things like Una donna 15 anni from Mozart's Così fan tutte. You have young people singing da 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 da. I can't remember what it's called right now.
But taking an excerpt from all these major opera works and introduced to children first.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're not expecting them, and it's the same with musical theatre. There are lots of musical theatre pieces in the Trinity syllabus as well, especially. I think Defying Gravity is in there as well. And we're not expecting young people to sing these pieces, whether it's musical theatre, Disney, or opera, not expecting them to sing them like adults. You're expecting them to sing them with their own voices as they are at that stage, and use it as a learning experience. What does the song mean? Where is this song? Where is this song in the scheme of the opera? Where is it in the scheme of the musical piece? What's happened to the character before then? Therefore, what's happening right now? Connecting with the material emotionally, not about going, you have to sound like a 39-year-old woman singing X, Y, and Z at 15. That's not the case. That's not the case.
I see. So in terms of the voice projection and the techniques that they need to use, you mean is that you make use of whatever they have at that stage, the very natural voice that they have to sing it, using their own expression and in their own sound.
Yes.
Okay.
Most definitely. I come from classical technique, and I also come from a place of do no harm. I think there's this, of course, musical theatre singing has often got different vocal production needs, and therefore a different understanding of, not a different understanding of technique, but another understanding of what you need to produce certain sounds. In musical theatre, something I love about musical theatre is when you've got somebody who's they really sound like they are sending sound, not so much breath, not so much vibrato, but just really sending pure sound out. And hearing that as a young person and trying to emulate that without having a good knowledge of what it is that you need to do to create that sound, or even any exercises that you need to start tiptoeing towards making that sound, can be quite dangerous. So for me, as a predominantly classical singer, I work on, let's find that mixed voice. Let's find that area of your voice where you're happiest. Let's find that little golden area. And then let's experiment with, I don't like the word pushing, but then let's experiment with just, edging towards
Yes.
other sounds. What more nasal sounds can we make? What breathy sounds can we make? When are those appropriate within the piece of music that we're doing? And making sure that we frame that in a very healthy way for young people especially.
I feel is that the knowledge of voice projection, in fact, is getting important. As you can see that it's because of the pandemic, we are talking, on Zoom now. We'll be able to look at each other and then like present the show. But then there will be cases like, let's say, the children are needed to speak to an audience. And, how they use, their lungs and then their larynx, it's kind of important. So I feel is that now maybe I just want to remind all parents to take care of this part of the education, which I feel is getting more and more important. What is your view in this? In terms of understanding voice projection for normal people? Yeah.
It is so important. It really, really is. When you have a voice and you are not able to use it in any way, shape or form, if you have a cold or if you've suffered some damage, it really is, it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult to not be able to express yourself and express yourself in the way you want to. And your voice is a massive part of that. Something that's happening in the UK, well, I guess it can happen all over the world, is this wonderful thing called the Vocal Health First Aider, which is
Yes, I was going to ask you about this.
Yes,
about vocal health. Yes, that's right.
Yes, it's an online course, and I'm currently doing it at the moment. It's an online course about vocal health first aid. And
can you tell us a little bit about that, how to maintain the vocal health amid this pandemic?
Yeah, well, a lot of what I am understanding about vocal health now, and it's something that we live, is that it's not just about how does my voice feel? Am I, what's going on here? It's about what's going on in here. It's about what's going on in the whole body. It's such an all-encompassing thing. If you are not happy, if you are anxious, if you are not feeling well within yourself, then that tension and that stress is going to manifest in the thing that you use a lot. And for opera singers, that's going to be your, for any singers or for any human, really, that's going to be your voice. So it's about treating the instrument as a whole thing, which is really the obvious way of treating your instrument. But when we get colds, we immediately focus in on, or when we get tight or tense, we immediately focus in on what's happening here, what's happening there, how can I fix this, rather than how can I fix everything, or not everything, fix, but how can I help everything, exactly. Yes. So it's a course that is happening online. It's something that is being encouraged by lots of people to do. In the UK, there's a thing called Mental Health First Aiders, and the scheme is trying to implement having vocal health first aiders in all categories of life. So if you have an opera company, you have a vocal health first aider. If you have a school, you have a vocal health first aider, because teachers talk a lot. So it's something that is extremely important, and I think possibly out of the pandemic has become even more important. We're all here. We've all had a moment where we've gone, wow, I need to focus in on my health, my mental health, my well-being. And this is just another side of it. And
so
I think
this is like a little bit, to me, that it sounds a little bit like alternative treatment, but I think it's now being taken and put into the mainstream that, like indeed it is important, although you may not really see the effect as scientifically as what it is in the medical field, but it does. And then they have come into treatment like this to basically look at the overall health, the well-being of a person. So this is great, because that actually goes with the Oriental and the Eastern way as well. We have quite a lot of alternative medicine that we use over here. And so over here in Asia, we have been basically putting the two sides of the Western medicine and the so-called, we call it traditional medicine, in a way that we combine both of them to basically seek for better treatment for the overall health of our people here. So I think that sounds like, both part of the world are actually moving into the same direction. Okay, great. And then so, well, back to, your performance, as an opera singer. Well, you would dare to share with us, what have you been working on recently?
Most recently, in fact, last week, I was in London rehearsing for an opera for babies. So this is an opera for babies. Yes, exactly. Yes, it's going to be so lovely.
Opera for babies. I would like to repeat that. Okay, because it's amazing to me. So can you please describe a little bit more? I really love to hear that.
So it's for newborns all the way up to about 18 months, a little bit older than that. And we were meant to be performing it around the country in various theatres that are children's theatres. Obviously, we can't be doing that now. So what we've decided to do is put it on YouTube instead. So we've gone through a process of learning the music, recording the music, which we did last week, also having a little play with what the piece is going to look like. There were two opera singers and a percussionist, and having a look at what the piece is going to look like. So there's lots of things like we're holding mirrors and playing with bunny rabbits.
Basically set up like a scene for the babies to look at while listening to some songs that you sing.
Exactly. And it's a through composed piece. It's about 20 minutes long, but it's going to be split up into little segments. So you've got a little segment of 5 minutes, which is all about, it's called Under the Little Red Moon. And it's with English Touring Opera. And there's a little segment about bunny rabbits. And there might be a little segment about shiny things. And there's a little segment about mirrors and what looking into a mirror is like. And it's really adorable. In a couple of weeks' time, I'll go back to London and we will, having sent that footage to an animator, we'll go into a green screen studio, which I've never been in before. So that's another side of my career that I've never done and would never have done had it not been for the, pandemic and the situation we're in. We're going to go into a green screen studio, record it all, and then the animator's going to put all sorts of interesting little extra things in amongst our piece. And it's really exciting.
So
and
may I know who composed the songs? Like,
so
is it composed by somebody who knows about infant education?
Well, it's composed by a guy called Russell Hepplewhite, who has composed lots of children's operas and children's performances. He does a lot of choral music as well. And the words have been written by Tim Yealand, who is a huge... He's a wonderful writer of children's things, children's pieces and productions, and the two of them together have put this piece together, and it's going to be lovely to do as a film, but I can't wait to be able to actually perform this.
You haven't finished the production yet? You haven't done your part yet?
Not yet. So we're rehearsing, and then we're going to go into the studio in a couple of weeks, and then it will go into post-production, and then it will be on YouTube.
Oh, great. And then when is it going to be published?
Oh, I'm not quite sure. I think it will be a few weeks. There's not really a timeline to release it as yet, but it will be soon. It will.
I see. Would you like to say the title again? We will just put that in our notebook then,
yes,
for its production.
Of course, it's called Under the Little Red Moon.
Under the Little Red Moon. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. This is really amazing because we have done some music classes, for infants, with the mothers and fathers in the class, but we haven't heard a production like this, mainly for babies. It will be really interesting. And that you can, as you said, is that because of the pandemic, I think there are a lot of new experiments, working with the composers, with maybe, I would say, drama conductors. And so in that sense is that it kind of opens up, like you said, a brand new experience and horizon for professional musicians. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Great. I think that I really have gained quite a lot of insights from you today. Okay, so maybe just lastly, just a little bit on the broad perspective of it. How is it like, that you have chosen a career pathway to be a professional opera singer? Have you thought of the fact that if you had not chosen this path, what would it be? Whether you think that you have missed something in life, and what have you gained, from pursuing a career pathway like this? I ask this question because a lot of parents in Asia, tend to put the academic studies first as a priority. And then, so I think it is an interesting question. And then it's been, I would say, always happening in debates, like, whether parents should make sure that their children do well in academic studies, in contrast to, doing something in arts like this. So what is your view on this?
Well, at the very start of jumping on this journey at the age of around about 16, I was doing my GCSEs and my A-levels in the UK, and all sciences, so biology, chemistry. I love science anyway, and I wanted to go into genetic research and medical science. I thought it was really interesting, but obviously there was this part of me, the 4-year-old, who had gone from 4 to 19, tap dancing, doing ballet, playing the piano, playing the violin, singing in a church choir. There was that side of me that needed to express myself. And I think that having made the decision to go down the artistic route has enabled me to express myself in a way that I don't think I would be able to express myself if I was in a lab somewhere. Having an artistic, that's not to say though that, doing the academic side is super important. It's really important. I could have possibly gone to university, studied science, studied medical science, and then come out and gone, you know what, there is something missing. I need to try the artistic side of my life.
This is like a calling that you have in life.
It really, really is a calling. That is the right word for it, Flora. I went through such sort of turmoil at that stage of my life, saying what is expected of me? What should I be doing versus what is in my heart? And in my heart was art, that rhymed. And I really feel like I'm at the right place that I should be right now. I am working with young people. I'm helping them find their voices. I'm not telling them that art is for you, come and join the art. I'm just saying that it is an option. And if that is in your heart, then follow it. Even if it's in your heart and you want to follow an academic route, have a second string to your bow. Being a performer is such a wonderful release of emotion. You are in charge and in control and in charge and in control of your emotions, but you can key into your emotions. You can key into the human existence so well. I feel like you become quite a compassionate person, because you're always, as a performer, you're always going, what's the emotion behind this? What is this person feeling when I sing this song? I would happily tell everybody to, follow their dreams and follow their art. But as you say, a calling, if your calling is art, then follow it. But know that it is a difficult path. It is not any easier than becoming a doctor. If you train to be an opera singer and you do all of the steps that you can do, that's 4 years of undergrad, 1 year of postgrad, 2 years on an opera course, another year at an opera studio. Maybe you get onto a young artist program. That's 9 years worth of study already. It's an investment in not just the financial sense, but it's an investment emotionally into yourself and into your heart and into your being. So it's not easy, but it's worth doing. It's
of course,
really
it takes perseverance and grit, and as that's in all subjects too. So I think is that there was a fantastic sharing, from you about your decision to go into this, and I think it's with us here. We have a lot of, let's say, parents emphasizing on the academic studies. I feel is that it's not to say that it is wrong, because I'm sure you have done well in school too. But then I think, like you said, is that you don't necessarily to be an artist, but learning it, knowing it, it kind of make you grow holistically. And I think parents should actually look at the children. See how they develop spiritually as well, in terms of understanding your soul, your deep desire, which kind of pathway you want to pursue, so that give them certain satisfaction in life. So I think that is absolutely true. I totally and 100% agree with you. All right. Okay. So thank you, Abigail. I think this has been a really fruitful talk. I'm sure a lot of our listeners and audience will gain a lot of insights from you. Before we end the program, any other parting words you would like to give to the children who may be learning how to sing now? Any advice for them?
Any advice for them? Oh my goodness. They enjoy it. There's so much. But there's something that my dad always says to me before every performance. He says, focus, enjoy, and connect. I think if you focus on your studies,
word of wisdom,
enjoy what you're doing, and connect with what you're doing. Focus, enjoy, connect.
Okay, word of wisdom. So sometimes you still need to listen to the older ones, the elder ones. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Abigail. Well, that's it for this episode. We hope you have enjoyed my conversation with Abigail Kelly. We'll be having more episodes coming up covering topics such as suitable teaching approaches for young children, language learning, music teaching, adult learning, and many, many more. Stay subscribed to our channel and see you soon. Bye.